So Mythic rating in WoW is actually dying, which is kind of crazy. So is WoW? Yeah, no, I'm not exactly sure why this is happening. Like one specific reason. I think there's like 3 or 4 different reasons. But I figured I'd watch this and talk about it a bit. I want a Mythic raid. Yeah, you think that until you do. Then you realize you don't.
Is Mythic rating, as it currently stands in World of Warcraft, the dragon flight within, is it sustainable or is it not?
Is it dead forever?
So the headline rule states that if the headline is a question, the answer is no. Not quite true here. Not quite true here, because...
Look at that beard.
From
Big Dumb Gaming Guild.
BDG. And this is a big statement. Big statement. But...
So this is one of the, like, kind of... This was usually like the 3rd or 4th place guild. In a lot of cases with races. Big Dumb Guild was really well known. But they weren't as big as Echo or Limit, and so they're disbanding.
They're disbanding is a hard
there it
word
is.
and used to Warcraft Guild. One of the biggest guilds in the world, and just like, nah. To sum this up, it's not really working, and we couldn't be bothered.
Let me explain it better. They can't make any fucking money doing it. And they can't just, everybody always just takes off 2 weeks of work randomly to play a video game. So you have to make this your job at some level, or at least make this some sort of part-time income. But the truth is, who the fuck wants to sponsor a loser? And these guys lost. That's just a fact. So whenever you have these people, you have to think about how hard it is to sustain a raiding guild in terms of sponsorship, right? Because you've got to have, because you got 20 people on the roster, right? So like realistically, you've got about 26, 27, 28 maybe. So 28 people for content that you can only monetize functionally for maybe like 1 month out of the year, assuming you have 2 races a year, and even that is a massive overstatement. So you've got to pay, and also with a lot of these content creators, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, a lot of these people are fucking boring. Nobody's gonna watch them. There's no way. They're boring. Nobody wants to watch them, clear, Dark Heart Thicket for the 17th time farming for some item. Nobody gives a fuck about watching this. It's awful. So the content's terrible. Nobody's watching it. They're losing. There's literally no positive.
Which is,
that's just how it is.
Yeah, so here it's like declining leadership. This is mostly like a...
And also, like, remember Blood Legion fell apart back in the day. Blood Legion, Death and Taxes. Some guilds just, there's turnover. Like, people's lives change and they don't want to be competitive Mythic Raiders in World of Warcraft for their whole life. I think that's pretty reasonable for a lot of people.
From what's actually own opinion, like, as the leader, is like, yeah, don't feel the same level of passion from back in the Castle and Sanctum days.
Yeah, of course. Because
Not
it's 3 or 4 years ago.
The passion was gone. Having to change out the officer team, business partner stepping away, etc. It's kind of, it just doesn't feel worth.
They're not making the money.
Go in because of the lack of support.
This is something that people might not really know because it's kind of an industry thing, and so like, why the fuck would you know this? But the truth is that it's harder to get sponsorships now than it was 2 years ago. It was. And sorry, it is. Like, and the deals are for less money. So you're getting paid less money and there's less people paying you less money.
Both from
it's less sustainable.
Players and from everything else. Core players are just being retiring.
And I'll tell you the reason why. The reason why is because most streamers can't sell a product well. So, like, you have these people that are like, oh, wow, this person gets 5,000 average viewers. Let's just give them a bunch of money and they're going to sell our game to 5,000 people. Haha. No, they're not. Because the stream sucks, the way that they promote it sucks, and then the brand makes, they pay $20,000 and then they make 5. Well, they're not going to do that again.
Or burning out, or going to the top 3.
It seems like a core problem is the middle is dropping out.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not the middle.
Yeah, they're
like off the top 200, they're high up.
Yeah, they're the very top of the middle.
But I mean, even what Dakar and our team was talking about for like his bunch again, they're not like the tip top, but they're cutting edge every cutting edge every season. I think they were a feeder for World First. Guilds at a point anyway, and they're also gone. It does seem that quite a lot of guilds are actually sort of going in that top 200 sphere.
Yeah.
So if the middle falls out, then that's going to be a problem.
Because then there's no feeder guilds to feed to the top.
Yep.
There's no top then. Oops. with no middle, the top collapses.
Yeah, you need an ecosystem of like middle guilds to feed into higher guilds. This is actually true. It's the same as like any ecosystem.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is obviously like the losing for players, but then the loss of sponsorship is to do as well.
Yeah.
Whereas like, if no one, like the money doesn't come from playing the game.
No.
Where does the money come from? It comes from being, from creating the entertainment around it.
And like, put it this way, you know.
And the way that people that are hardcore players of the game play the game, it's not entertaining to watch. Nobody wants to watch Mythic Plus dungeons all day, every day. And for the people that do, there's not that many of them. You're not going to have like a really popular stream that's just farming Mythic Plus dungeons all the time. Even after the raid is cleared once or twice, people are like, they're done with it. They've already seen that. They're looking for something new now. It's boring. That's just how it is. And also, like, you know what makes it worse? The fact that if you close your eyes and you listen to a Mythic Plus stream, you'd think that you were in a torture cell for Guantanamo Bay with how much fucking psychological torture they put you through. Move, interrupt, run away, little girl, run away. Like, I'm serious. Like, it's like a fucking torture chamber listening to this shit. It's crazy.
If we do a video that has a sponsor on it, the sponsor will be worth, you know, like multiple times what the video will get in AdSense. And what we do here is only viable because of direct support from members and sponsors. Now, at that, sponsors is currently vastly larger. I want to be able to
Yeah, sponsors pay out way more money. I mean, in terms of like, for me, it's obviously going to be a bit different. But I think in general, for a lot of streamers, sponsors do pay the majority of their money. And maybe that's not true for a handful, but I think for the majority it probably is.
Sponsors and increase direct stuff from our community, because honestly, I don't want to care about views anymore. And AdSense and sponsors are all about views. Directly with your community, though, that is the people who actually enjoy what you're making. I would far rather be that. Like, as an example, most recent, video we released in the Warcraft channel, like on the YouTube dashboard, 10 out of 10. You go into the comments, loads of people are like, that was really great. I loved it. It's that kind of lore that we enjoy.
He's saying 10 out of 10, by the way, not 10 out of 10 as it's good, but like on your YouTube dashboard, it will rank your videos. And it will be like, is this your best out of your last 10 videos or your worst out of your last 10 videos? And he's saying it was their worst of their last 10 videos. And I learned the exact same thing that Belura did. There's a reason why I don't make WoW videos anymore.
I'd rather be, doing that for less people and us all enjoying it more. Yeah. So it's going to be like that for them, where like the costs of actually running, especially when you're sort of like Big Dumb, where they're big enough to be able to do sponsors and, to sort of do more.
Well, you think about all of the infrastructure that somebody like Complexity has. Like Liquid Complexity, or it's Liquid Complexity, right? Like Max's Guild. Like, they have so much extra level of infrastructure and tools that they have to solve problems and to address things on just a structural level that they are going into the race on they're just Liquid? Okay. Just Liquid, not Complexity? Okay, yeah. Apologies. With Liquid, they have all of these advantages that other guilds just simply don't have. It's not like, for example, in the Olympics where like everybody's running the same race. Nobody's starting on the same playing field here.
Sort of org stuff. But, there's them. I mean, Pieces went a while ago. Midwinter went a while ago.
Yep. Midwinter.
Like, of that kind of, those guilds that would be in the top 10, but not the top 3 as much, like, they've been dropping off.
Yeah, and rightly so, because, like, you kind of have to wonder, obviously, like, as to say here, makes it hard for anyone to justify the time commitment outside of extreme passion, which, frankly speaking, most people lose in about 2 tiers.
Yeah, true.
Point on chat. Turns out raiding for 15 hours a day at the start of every tier makes you burn out.
Yeah, of course.
It's not even raiding that much, it's also all the prep involved as well.
That's the other thing, yeah. It's like you're spending all this time, like on week 1 of the tier, you're spam running Mythic Plus so you can get gear that you're going to replace in 1 week. Like, what are you really doing here? Like, how do you do that for more than one day and ask yourself when you're going to bed that night, what am I doing with my life?
Different story from
Making
like,
8 mirror characters and doing splits.
It's a different story.
Jesus.
To you look at like.
And also, by the way, this is not a problem with the game. This is not a problem that Blizzard needs to fix, like with split runs or anything like that. This is not an issue at all. Blizzard should not take this seriously in any capacity. Just because people want to make a career out of raiding in their game does not mean that Blizzard is obligated to contrive the game in a way that makes that possible. The truth is that this game is made for wide audiences and for general audiences, and hurting splits and making loot harder to trade to like try to handicap high-end guilds. Like, what are you doing? At a certain point, what are you doing with your what are you doing with your development time? Why is this important?
A higher end of like.
Doesn't it ruin Mythic for non-world first raiders though? Well, the problem really is that Mythic raiding is balanced for, at least at the start of a tier, Mythic raiding is balanced for a caliber of guild that is an extreme minority. And that's why they have to nerf the bosses so many times. Like, every time that Blizzard nerfs a boss, this should be considered a fuck up. They should, like, Final Fantasy doesn't need to nerf bosses all the time. Do you know why? It's because they bring the boss out, it's tuned properly, people either beat the boss or they don't. They don't need to have a 7-day race of how long is this going to take.
And a lot of them like they'll block book a couple weeks off work. Like 2 weeks off work, and that's them. Maybe 3. And sometimes like, we didn't get the kill before our people are back to work. Oh shit, well, that's it. But there's no like insane prep up to that.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of like that, but it's not nowhere near as much as get to go do it. And that's like substantially more sustainable for them. Obviously it's less interesting, because obviously there's the whole narrative around building the RPG side of it and all of the splits, and obviously it's a small...
Oh yeah, of course people are going to get involved with this. I mean, it goes without saying. Somebody is unhappy. I think you should just go play Classic. Stop reacting to anything retail. What you want will never come back, and it can't not. What am I saying that you disagree with? I don't feel like we disagree, but yes, I'm randomly talking. Get out of here then. Get out of here. So annoying. Nobody wants that.
Seen in that front. But it is there as like a, it's like the actual ask is huge.
Yeah.
The ask is absolutely massive. But this also has to get this has to pay 20 people because of the time required. They have to pay the support staff to make entertainment, because this is also esports at the same time. This is one of the big things about being one of the top guilds. This isn't just them playing the game. It's them playing the game to match people who are playing it full time and running esports orgs and everything as well.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes, well, if you're not going to be in the top whatever, what's the point?
If you ain't first, you're last. And that's just a fact. That's the reality that we live in. And that's the reason why there can't be a Mythic raiding scene. Like a professional Mythic raiding scene. Nobody wants to watch the 3rd place guild clear the boss. Unless there's like popular streamers in the raid, nobody is going to care. It's just how it is.
Yeah,
So
it's damn hard.
Yeah, and it also helps that it's extremely difficult to actually do. Which is the insane part. It's a literal hard
Game's
game.
too small.
It's extremely
It's always like this.
Almost too hard, because maybe it's a little bit designed for the absolute insane peak. It's like the difficulty is like, what if we make our game for 60 people? Right.
Yeah,
well, I wonder how that'll
you
go.
Look at what's required in it is a lot. And actually, well, you know what? We'll skim through. This is something we'll turn into a video. As it is, it's very, very large. It's about 5,000 words. So
So this is, and I'll just hide a little bit of that. So this is a 5,500 word essay
Jesus.
from our ex-Mythic reader, Dakor.
So our thing basically is
teetering on a knife's edge.
Sort of talking about
Mythic
it.
raiding is in great danger of dying out. Blizzard needs to do something now. This isn't doom calling. This is a call to action. You know the reason why nobody wants to Mythic raid is because it's not fun. It's not fun to spend fucking 4 hours a night wiping to a boss because one person can't do a mechanic right. Like, it's just not fun to do. Like, this sucks. It's awful.
And like, yeah, earlier this week, greenlit a video on it, and the first thing to do is like,
it's not rewarding enough. No, it's not.
Yeah, well, laying out opinions, laying out thoughts based on everything that's happened, which is what this is. So obviously, the full video being 5,500 words would be pretty unsustainable.
Yeah, this is.
That'd be very long.
Yeah, this will be.
But you know, so we'll boil things down a little bit. And if we were going through all of the 5,000 words, then this would not really be sort of possible. But basically the point is, number one, Emir Drasil, The Dream's End. That's a really good chapter heading. Big agree.
Dreams.
But tuning and balancing, right? Basically to talk about things. This is the very short version.
Yeah.
We will go into depth later. But essentially, right, it feels to a lot of them like things are tuned for a really good Race to World First, where the Race to World First people, they get near maximum gear pretty quick. And then Blizzard chips it away with nerfs. And then that's just that's not a fun place for difficulty to...
It's stupid. Like, it's just fucking stupid. How is this even a question? You're going to rebalance the bosses every couple of weeks because bad guilds, like, so you can artificially make the fights, and like you're creating this like fake event with Race to World First. So, and it's like if you make the bosses in a way that's fair for like average players, it would be too fast, and so you artificially make them harder so like only 60 people can do this. And like there's development time put into this, and like the design of the raid is built around it. What the fuck is going on with this game? What the fuck is this?
Blizzard said, right back,
it's crazy.
Ian said, we'd rather not have to nerf things 20 times for the rank 100, rank 1000, rank 5000 kills.
Then don't make it like that in the first place. What are you doing? If you don't want to have to nerf it 20 times, then stop doing it.
To be able to blaze the same trail afterwards. To which, Dakar was kind of thinking, did they forget they said that?
Yeah, because they just straight up did that straight away again.
And there's more examples of that. So number one, the moving of goalposts. Also non-linear progression with wall bosses. And obviously utility being required in a way that's fairly fixed, and something where you've got a very, a fixed team size, to the point where you've got like 5 people spare once you've covered your bases, and it's a 20-man comp. Now, moving into some other things then. The prevalence of binary wipe mechanics. And again, this is the Cliff Notes quick.
This is one of the reasons why I stopped raiding. Is like, I would do a boss, and then one person would make a mistake, and then everybody would die. And I just like this. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I playing this? Like the boss I quit raiding on was Mythic Cahoon, by the way. Because it's like, okay, somebody stood in the thing. I don't want to do this. Like, what am I doing with my life? Why is this happening? It's so highly tuned. It's just not fun, right? Like that's all there is to it. It's just simply not a fun game.
Chat about it on the stream before we will publish
the balls.
A more
oh god, yeah, the gray balls
later.
On the gray floor.
But
by
the prevalence of binary raid wipes again, and so for Smolderon there's 1, Tindrel 4, Farak 4, but Ian, they said before again in and around Shadowlands that they don't want to do that anymore because, or not anymore, but they didn't want that to be as much of a thing because in Sepulchre it really, really damaged shit. So, then also private ores, they've went, the way sometimes, the way like a lot of the more like the libertarian side would say like, yes, government intervention to solve the problem will often have the opposite of the intended result.
Yeah.
That's kind of happened actually with private auras. Where it still means the people with weak aura squads are...
You have to disable this shit. Like, the add-ons have gotten so complex in WoW that I think that they genuinely ruined the game. Like, this is... like, how are you letting this happen? Like, you have these people... Think about it like this. I think that Liquid has a person maybe it's Echo, it could probably is both of them, have a person that they pay exclusively to make weak auras for their guild. If that wasn't a massive, tremendous advantage, they wouldn't be spending that money. What's going on? Why are we having guilds paying real money salaries to players to make weak auras for a raid? Why is this even like what the fuck happened? It's like I just don't understand this. How is this a problem? The reason why it's a problem is because the way it completely contrives the way that the development team has to make fights. Because now they're designing the fights with the context of these tools. And because they're designing the fights with the context of these tools, then the fights are over-designed for people that aren't using the tools. And if the people that aren't using the tools try to do the fights, they're artificially harder, which makes their experience worse. Give examples. Jailer bombs. That's an example.
Disproportionately strong, and the rest are still kind of waiting up behind. Just private auras don't seem to have worked for a variety, for a variety of reasons. Raider.io did a big article on this topic as well. I mean, just the start. Most guilds below the Race to World first level must wait for weak auras packages to be released and struggle through Lua codes to get.
This is so fucking stupid. This is supposed to be this is so, God, what is this? Like, what's wrong? What the fuck happened?
Some of them working in the first place, despite in-depth.
What is going on?
I mean, just what a situation.
How can you read this and not immediately go, we need to fucking fix this?
Yes,
numerous guilds lost entirely nets of valuable for rack progression time because they could not effectively troubleshoot those weak aura packages. Bro, what? Dude, I would nope out so fast. I would
it's ridiculous, yeah.
Tom and Jerry Looney Tunes ass shit. Yeah. Where it's like, I've already run out the door and my after image is there and there's like a trail of fire where my feet were. That would be how fast I would nope out. If it was, sorry, you can't play your troubleshooting weak auras instead, I'd be like, no, I'm not doing this.
Like, even just like,
go away.
Are private aura coded mechanics still solvable in some way for guilds without a weak aura expert in the midst? Like, if that question is being asked,
then they've fucked their design up so unbelievably badly.
And it's just like, I'm astonished that Blizzard has managed to do this. I really am. This is incredible that they've been able to do this. How can you fuck it up this bad? Where everybody who's playing your game is reliant on like 7 different add-ons, and you're designing the game with those add-ons. Like, it's... Do you guys ever step back for a minute? Like, because for me, it's like I played WoW like every day for like 15 years, so it's hard to like step back and look at it from like more of a removed position. But like now that I haven't really played a lot recently, I look back at the problems that the game has, and they just seem to be so absolutely fucking stupid that I can't even imagine that they exist. It's like I could just look at it and just laugh. Like, is this real? Like, this is actually happening?
Going to the final thing, there may be middle ground yet between automation, weak auras, and blank slate progression without leaning on third-party solutions, but private auras do not seem to be the answer we were looking for, and maybe Blizzard have came to the same conclusion themselves.
Disable
this is maybe more relevant
add-ons.
because with Emirdrasil there were more private auras than there were in Aberys, but of course Aberys was the first example of that.
Keep in mind, my position, I will say again, is that every single add-on should be against the rules. Unironically, Final Fantasy XIV does it right, and WoW should do the exact same thing. Every single add-on. And yes, that includes Bag-On. Yes, that includes Auctioneer. Yes, that includes everything. Weak auras, every single add-on should be completely disabled, and it should be against the terms of service to use it.
things, mechanic, visual conconsistency stuff.
Yeah,
It's
that's
cheating.
Talked about that plenty.
That's pretty cool. Red boss, red floor,
Nimue.
red walls, red lighting, red mechanics, red everything. Smolderon was such a fucking pain in the ass. Let's say his tweets from Smolderon.
Then, of course, right, this is something.
Yeah,
did it matter?
Was me, like, this was me. This was me actually playing this the first time.
Yeah.
Let's put the red mechanic in the red room next to the red boss right under the red soak that drops a red zone, and if you touch it, you get a debuff that makes you red. Yeah, no. Nope. I'm done. Nope.
Why is everything on fire?
Moving a little bit on, just talking about like UI stuff. Where
Do you feel like they're so far down the rabbit hole, it's too late to remove the add-ons? They're only going to go farther down the rabbit hole the longer that they let the game exist in this weird way. It's only going to get worse. The game is only going to die more, and it will only become more and more unapproachable by new players. And the same guys that are quitting raiding right now are not going to be they're not going to be replaced by new people because the entire ecosystem of the player base is removed. The way that a stream works, like a stream starts dying when people stop watching more often than they start watching. You see what I'm saying? And the same thing happens with a game. A game doesn't, like, it's not that people are always quitting games. Like, people quit Elden Ring on day 2. They're like, oh, I'm bored, I'm going to stop doing that. But there were more people playing the game, same as in Burning Crusade. There were more people playing that replaced them. But the issue is that whenever there are more people quitting than starting, that's whenever things begin to die. And that's what's happened with WoW.
Now, in the user interface, you'll be able to see my little Notion dude.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. 6 minutes away.
Oh, Control F. Just Control F, user interface. There you go.
Yep.
There's me. Hello.
There we go.
Look at me. I'm running away. No. Anyway, basically, you got to heal the little tree boys and stuff in Lardar?
Yeah.
Well, the visual clarity, you have to understand that WoW players and MMO players in general take pride in overcoming bad design, and their ego is attached to being able to overcome that bad design. So they don't want the game to be easier by making it more readable and easily approachable. And that's why, for example, they try to fight to maintain bad systems in a game, because they had to suffer through the bad systems, so they think that everybody else should as well. So that's also a big issue, is that it's WoW players that have this sense of elitism because they're able to move out of the shiny circle, and they don't want anybody else to be able to see the shiny circle more easily. Like, WoW has always been a very easy game in general. Like, if you look at the individual accountability and the individual actions that a player has to take, and just like, I'm not saying that, like, World First level is probably going to be a bit different, right? But, like, let's say you're just a random cutting-edge guild. This is going to require less skill than beating Dark Souls 1. You literally have a machine that tells you what buttons to press. You have a machine that tells you where to go. And on top of having a machine that tells you what buttons to press and where to go, which, by the way, your character was also designed by another machine. And then you have somebody that's talking to you in real time telling you to move left. And there's shiny circles that are red that you have to move out of. What are we doing? Like, are we really going to pretend like this is anything more than a joke? What is this?
And you're like, cool. Why is that not easy to do?
Yeah, why do you not have little frames pop up?
Yeah, because me and all the other healers, like, we're doing that based on our unit frames, like mouse over macros or click casting or whatever the hell you're using.
Yeah.
So it's really, really annoying when you have to deal with healing the trains, even though I actually love those mechanics.
Yeah, it's just
It was
you would
fun.
want them to show up as
Like
like
Freya
party
and
members or
Old War.
something,
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
along those lines.
Yeah, just add them in a flipping frame so I can click on it.
Yeah.
Then talking about chase items, legendaries, the impacts that those end up having.
Oh yeah,
where
just demoralization, guns shot to the head every time
Yep.
you roll.
and then the downsides of the 20-player requirement.
Yeah, this is where I think most of the problem will ultimately lie. 20 players is a fucking lot of players.
Nope,
Yeah.
it's not enough. Should be 40. Should be 40 player raids. Bring them back. Bring them back. Remember you used to get all the boys together and do Molten Core and Classic? That shit was fun. That was awesome. It was cool seeing everybody there together. And fuck. Isn't that what matters? It's an MMO. It's an experience. You want to go for something challenging? Go play a real game. Holy shit. 40 players for big guilds should be... Absolutely, because if you made... Listen, here's what they need to do. Make the raids way fucking easier. Add 40-man raids again. Get rid of Mythic raid lockouts that are it's a joke. I can't believe they still have that nowadays. Stop designing fights for the world first race. Make gear more fun to get. Give people a way to upgrade their gear and like continuously build for items. That's what they need to do. Like this bullshit here, strict 20-man requirement, you would have the same problem if you had 10-man requirements. You know why? Because people are still going to quit. The problem isn't that there's a strict 20-man requirement. The problem is that there's a strict requirement for gameplay, and only 20 people can meet that requirement, and oftentimes you can't even get that. So then maybe make the requirements a little bit less strict, and then you can bring more people, and it can feel like an MMO rather than a scuffed esport that it never was meant to be. And it never will be. Nobody will ever take WoW seriously as an esport. Nobody will ever respect accomplishments that people have nowadays in WoW. Who the fuck cares? Like, who won the last MDI? Who won the last AWC? Nobody gives a fuck and nobody cares because the game is dead and it has no casual player base for anybody to really care about it. That's the problem. People cared about Wreckful because people cared about the game. People cared about somebody like, I'm trying to think of someone like Kungan because people cared about the game. That's the real reason. Everything else is all bullshit. And the reason why those top players back then were so revered is because there was a casual player base that existed underneath to support them and look up to them. And nowadays, that casual player base is gone because Blizzard has intentionally pushed them away. They've continuously made the game more complex, more convoluted, harder to understand. They've let the community increasingly make the game harder by itself with add-ons. And guess what happens? Well, then all those casual players leave. This isn't the game for them anymore. That's why Classic WoW is so popular. That's what's happening. And so, I think, I know this is my most unpopular WoW opinion, okay? 40-man raids are better than 20-man raids. But I hope you guys see my perspective at least, okay? I'm not saying you have to agree with me, but I think it would be cool and more fun to do that. And for me, that's the only thing that I really care about. I don't care about how hard it is. If I want to do something hard, I do it in real life. Like, what are we talking about? Like, it's not hard. It's a fucking video game. They programmed the video game to lose. You're really getting an ego over beating something that's programmed to lose? Get the fuck out of here. Are you 12?
Like, it's not just...
Jesus.
FF is 8.
Yeah, so put it this way. Getting 20 people is not twice as hard as getting 10 people. I don't know how this works.
Well, I'm gonna say this. Someone address this. I think people make this comment, so I'm gonna address it right now. You're saying that because your streamer can find 40 decent players. No, I can't find 40 decent players. I can find 40 players. For the normal people, it's difficult to find 40 people with time, skill, etc. Well, then why did so many people raid in Classic? Because former WoW players simply want to feel again what they felt back in the day? So, wouldn't it be a good idea to make the raids more like the way they felt back in the day then? Like, doesn't that kind of, like, what are you talking about? There's two different statements entirely, yeah. Make it make sense, bro. It's different now? Yeah, that's the whole point, man. Is that it's not the way it used to be, and people liked it the way it used to be. It's got nothing to do with 40 people. Everybody was raiding in Classic. It had to do with it being fun and rewarding, and not a massive time sink that's not fun. And that's the way that retail is now. It's got nothing to do with me being a streamer. Fuck, there were plenty of people. You think every raiding guild had a streamer in it? No. That's a ridiculous thing to say. Plenty of people raided back then. What do you compare two different things? No, I didn't. It's the exact same thing. Back in the day, I used to get in raids, random pickup all the time. Yeah, of course. It's nuts, man. It's not. It's just like... People have arguments like that, and I think that they don't even think about what they... Like, how do you make an argument like that without even thinking about it? We all did 40-man just fine in vanilla? It's hard to make ideas bullshit? No, it's not. Yeah, it is. It's not an actual problem. Everybody was 40-man raiding in Classic WoW because it was fun and rewarding. So why not make Mythic raids fun and rewarding? I don't know. It seems pretty easy to me.
But it seems like with groups,
it's not linear. Obviously,
with group size scaling, it is maybe not exponential, but it's definitely not linear scaling. The difficulty to organize people.
I mean, in the industry, don't they talk about one producer to 6 or 7 direct reports?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
hang on, is that 8 people?
Even think about team sizes at work. It's
thinking base 4, not base 5.
For loads of people, right? Mm-hmm. It's basically somebody's like extra job to run a Mythic guild, to run a Mythic team. It is. And that's even
like if you're raiding, there's somebody who's putting in probably like at least 10 to 20 hours a week just doing organization and logistics for the raid. It's actually a massive time commitment.
Case, Dakor's raid leader, like that was part of it. It was just straight up, I've been doing this for 8 years, I'm tired, boss, I can't do it anymore. That's not good. That's not healthy. If this was 8 people, if it was 10 people, far more healthy. But go
back to 40
what
man
about
raids.
The way that class utility is being handled?
40-man raids.
How's that going to interface?
Bring them back.
Mythic 10, you're not going to tick those boxes because in terms of group comp, currently, if you scroll down,
fuck, I have an 80-man raid.
A little bit. That is one of the typical baseline raid comps.
Yep.
Just so that you've got every unique raid buff and ability.
Well, except for the 2 Yogs there.
With that shit, it'd be fun.
And now there's only 5 there's 5 slots left.
Okay.
Now that is not. Think about it, that's not sustainable. And if you want to do 10. So that you got sustainability.
Imagine if you had twice as many slots. Because you had a 40-man raid. It'd be a lot easier to figure things out, right? For the roster. Yeah. Just think about that. Just think about that.
The relative strengths of all of these different things. And then that is going to make 10 feel even more fixed and prescriptive.
Yeah, Donuts saying 10-man raiding is what got us class homogenization. For good reason. Because that was how 10-man raiding was going to be balanced.
Yeah.
Because if you do this...
Class homogenization. Yeah. Also, like, this is another problem, is, like, it is really hard to make sure that you have one of everything whenever you're doing a 20-man raid, but it's easier whenever you have a 40-man raid. Because you have more slots to just fill in. And you can have 2 of something even though you don't really need it.
You can't balance it.
Yeah. So maybe, like, how does that...
Well, I mean, they should be able to, but they can't.
They can't, yes.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like, you just do it for it. You can't really say that. And FF gets with it because it has the party buff. Like everyone has a fixed comp, but it's within categories. Whereas instead of say that was assassination, instead, like, there's the melee group. Imagine if that was... Well, obviously that's 2 leather, plate, and a mail. Imagine if it was like, well, you can bring a plate or a mail, or you can bring a leather. Mm-hmm. And then, like, say you give all the leather melee classes some buff, and you give the plate and mail melee class another buff. And you go, that'll be a little bit closer to how FF works. Because FF...
Why not have a variable number of players? I actually disagree with the variable number of players. I think that's stupid. And I'll explain why. I like the idea that you need to have 25 or 40 people, and the reason why is that it makes you make concessions and invite the people that you might not have necessarily invited in the past. It makes it to where people are inherently less restrictive with how they invite because they need to meet a certain amount of player count. And so, like, I remember very clearly in ICC, there would be like, I remember there was this one time I was making a group for 25-man ICC, and there was this hunter who was like the third person who messaged me, and I kept ignoring him, and he kept messaging me. And we finally get all the way, I fill the entire raid up. I have 24 people. I can't fill the last slot. And I fucking invite him. And goddamn, I made the right call the first time not inviting him. The guy was fucking garbage. He was terrible. But you know what? He got into the raid. He did. He got it. It was Bodego. Remember Bodego? Yeah, exactly. Like, you bring in these people because you need to meet the slots. And this is just like, I think there's something that's kind of good about that. I do. It was better. I liked it more.
Also with like, right, well, you're going to bring your, you're going to bring your.
I know it might not be super convenient, but it's better for the game.
LA, you're going to bring your.
It's more inclusive. It is.
Your 2 different types of tanks.
Gus,
you're
yeah.
To bring your shield healer and your pure healer.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of fixed there, but it goes well. You've got 2 choices for pure healer, you've got 2 choices for shield healer, multiple choice for TPS, multiple choice for
it's the
DPS.
social interaction makes it negative. Yeah, there has to be social interaction. Like, you have to have social interaction in raids. Like, that's why, like, whenever they made personal loot mandatory, I was like, raiding is dead. This is just like the people that are making raid, they don't understand, like, what is this? I want to kill a massive dragon with a 40-man army? Yeah, exactly. Like, what's this pussy shit? Like, it's just... 20-man raids are just too many people.
And obviously, yeah, FF is suffering from it with the 2-minute CD design. But that's different from... Well, it's not that different. If you cut class buffs like Mug and stuff like that, you'd get away with the 2-minute problem. If people were responsible for individual DPS, the problem is that
classes should have their own cool buffs. That's what makes the game fun. They just shouldn't be massive. Like, yeah, what are we talking about? Like, warriors have battle shout, shamans have totems. Wait, when did this become bad? When a bunch of fucking no-life sweaties that want to, like, fucking run the same dungeon 80 times a day are complaining because, like, there's 3% worse? Like, get the fuck out of here.
That CD window came from needing all the damage at the same time to be within everyone's buffs who buff everyone else. So you'd have to cut the support element of buffs to make that actually balanced. But yeah, that's how they do it. But it is ultimately like, I'll tell you what it is, Michael. I can't look at this and see an unsolvable problem.
No, I think it's very solvable.
You can't tell me you can't just cut 5 arbitrarily off this and 10-man thing and make it work.
Somebody asked this question. They said, how important is fantasy, story, shared experience, and world building to raiding? Epic questlines add so much depth to make players care and want to raid. I think it's an undervalued aspect. It's everything, man. It's everything. You're totally right. You are 100% right. Like, the old Scepter of the Shifting Sands questline, like, everything like that, that's the real texture of the game. That's the real cool shit. Not this, like, loser bullshit that we have now. Legion killed it with that? Yeah, like, what is this?
Tell me you can't just cut 5 arbitrarily off this and 10-man thing and make it work. It feels like, sure, there's some sub-optimization, or you'll be suboptimal, but why can't you just not make that work? Why can't you make
You can.
Yeah.
You can make it work.
Yeah, so that's why I kind of don't...
Problem is design.
Yeah.
How many of the Mythic only designs will you be able to just, half the things and have it still work?
Yeah, well, I mean, design it for 10 people. Like,
yeah.
like just design it different.
There you go.
Just make it different, but good.
You haven't done a new one? How can you say that? Like, actually gone through it on Mythic to complete everything? You really think so? Do you really think that I have to go through and beat the raid in order for me to see what's obviously bad? You really think that, like, me playing the game for 15 years wasn't enough? Oh, well, you've only done 37 raids. Whoa, if you do 38, your opinion's going to be different. Think about what you're saying here.
That would just make it different.
Yeah.
Just make it different and better. And this is where the problem comes from. I think this is, what do you call it?
Do you think Mythic's too hard?
I think Mythic is substantially hard because obviously it's way too hard because it requires nerfed to Oblivion consistently. And the problem is that people are raiding for 15, 16 hours a day whenever it's time to raid.
Are Blizzard scared that Max and Scripe will kill it too quickly and it will be like why?
I unironically think that they're scared that that people will clear the raid too quickly. I'm sorry to say, it's why? Because a lot of the people that design the raids come from guilds that are high-end guilds. So they don't have the insight into a common player and an average person playing the game. So whenever the entire group of people that are making raids are only interfacing with other people that are also high-end players, they're not thinking about the game from a holistic perspective. They're thinking about it from a difficulty perspective that is very niche, that's less than 1% of the player base. Why is that a problem? It's a problem because most other people don't like doing that. And it's evident by the fact that people are, like, these raiding guilds are falling apart. That's the reason why. They wouldn't be falling apart like this if the raids were fun to do.
Yeah,
are they clearly overtuned for the majority of the Mythic playing player base? Because
they're passionate about the Raise the World First and the excellence that they can
do. They keep on saying that it's a community event and they didn't make it. And they absolve themselves from lots of responsibility.
Yeah, but they still want to reap the rewards because
make a fucking choice though.
Tasty.
If you want
rewards.
If you want the game to be better, sacrifice the Race to World First as a multi-week sponsorino event. Yeah, it'll suck for people.
Bellior is right. He is absolutely right. 100%. 100%. Raids are hard equals not fun. Nice logic. No, I think that's absolutely true. Whenever a raid and something becomes so hard, it stops becoming fun. There is a level where things become so difficult and so punishing that they are no longer enjoyable to progress in. That's absolutely true.
For whom that's their 100%. Only business. But you know what? I think they'll be fine. You can't be a one-trick pony, right? That's not a sustainable thing anyway. In Destiny 2, right? Like, their big race is, that's measured in days. And nobody's I mean, it's Destiny. People are furious about everything. But,
and rightly so. Destiny did kill video games.
It'll do. So maybe there's a version of Mythic that doesn't lead to as amazing, because look, everyone was talking about how amazing Amirdrasil was at the start, and it was amazing Race to World First, and great. And a lot of the people who said that at that time were thought leaders within the community. Well, why now are we seeing lots of criticism be leveled at the tier?
Because
there's a difference between the fucking spectator sport that everyone's enjoying and then the game bit that people play.
Yeah, it's almost like they're... Now, this doesn't really line up, but it's almost as if rules are being changed in games for, like, the top end and not...
You're right. He's absolutely right. This is what the problem is. It's that a lot of these games, and I think that WoW definitely fell victim to this, and I think that PvP is the same way. Like, there are levels of complexity in the game that don't need to exist, and they don't really make the game better. Like, for example, Polymorph and Hex being two separate spells and different types of a CC, this doesn't make the game better. It's just stupid. Why does it exist? Why? Why are we doing this? Like, it's been like this for years. It's the same with, like, Sap, Incapacitate. What's really the difference here? I'll take on the CC, in my opinion. Hex and Poly on the same DR. Well, one is a curse and the other one is magic, right? Like, Hex is a curse. I think that Polymorph is magic.
Actually thinking about, like, how normal people play. It's like, I'm trying to think of an example, but I'm not really a huge sports guy, so it doesn't come easy. But imagine things like basketball. where
Yeah.
it's like, well, what's like a 3-pointer? Well, we had to nerf those because people at the top end were getting way too good at
At
full
shooting
court shots
3-pointers, yeah,
because
exactly.
literally just skill got good. And over the course of America, people have started being 7 foot tall now, so they're just like,
So we're gonna make the hoop higher.
So
yeah.
like they just nerf that, and then everyone else who plays the game at like a normal level goes.
Are people saying CC is LTAG? The CC in WoW is fucking horrible. The reason why people say CC is good is because it allows good players to show off how good they are at the game. But the reality is that it's not fun to play against, and it's not enjoyable. It's the same reason why I said they should remove tanks from Arena. Because I've never done an Arena and fought against a tank and enjoyed the game. So just get rid of it. Problem solved. There it is.
I'm not taking your fucking rule update.
It's just not fun gameplay.
I'm gonna play the basketball I like. So I think that's like that's kind of the thing where they're making
Way
it for
too
these
much
people
CC.
and then trying to slim it down and shove it into the box that is other players. That does happen in sports. Yeah, well, it shouldn't. Actually, if you've got an example, that would be nice. I can't remember ever playing a sport and then someone changing the rule because it didn't make sense for...
I do. I remember whenever I would play basketball or football with my friend, he would always try to change the rules to win. He did that every fucking time.
like a normal player. But
actually.
I feel like the actual solution is definitely just going, what if we drastically rethink this and stop making this for the Race to World first?
Yeah.
And now it's kind of the problem.
Bottom up, it should be an emergent community thing, not something that, Blizzard's handling like that, in my opinion.
I think that's where the issue comes, because I feel like the raid team probably really love doing that. And this is the awkward part, where it's like, I don't want to say developers don't do what you want to do, because then, well, shit. That's your job. It's supposed to be passionate, it's supposed to do things you like, because then you'll put the best work into it.
Your job is doing things other people like to see. Your job isn't doing what you like to do. Hopefully there are times where the two things intersect, but your job is to develop a product that people want to buy. Your job isn't to have fun. That's a hobby.
But it is a little bit...
what are we doing here?
It feels a little bit shit that so much of the community is suffering for... I guess this high-end bit. And that's clearly what happened, right? That's clearly what is happening. Because there's no way, because Mythic is not being designed for the average player here. No, well, then the average Mythic player, I should say. Because I don't know if I would not commit to this, but I actually kind of wouldn't mind Mythic raiding if it were 10 man.
Oh, 100%, I agree.
There's no chance in hell would I do.
I would prefer...
I'll tell you this, I would never want to do a Mythic raid if it was in 10 man, because it doesn't feel like a raid. It doesn't. It doesn't feel like a raid the same way BWL, bro. You remember everybody fucking getting ready to fight Nefarian whenever he comes down? That was a raid, bro. That was real shit. That was fucking awesome. Just the spectacle of it was really cool. The same thing as I don't know, any boss really in Molten Core or something like that. I think a lot of new players don't want to pay box price plus subscription plus time management to organize groups whenever you can play a free-to-play one button to queue instant gaming game. Yeah, I think that WoW also has a lot of problems with that too. You're definitely right that it's very hard to get into. Yeah, that's a good point.
I prefer 10. It's annoying. What would be ideal? Because we're in this weird position now. Mythic is too hard and inaccessible because of team size and organizational stuff and outside of raid night work requirement. Yeah. But Heroic's too easy.
Yeah, Heroic
is too easy for me now.
It has kind of killed a little bit of our guild's playing, that we just walk into Heroic, and even if we don't kill it...
I wonder how much easier or harder it would be. Spectacle and some sense of scale are so paramount in MMOs. Yeah, exactly. It's fucking awesome. It's everybody riding up to Blackrock Mountain on their mounts, everybody getting their world buffs. I'm sorry, but this is much more interesting than the ending cinematic of Yggdrasil. That was cool. And I don't really care about, oh yeah, but it was really easy. Who cares? Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Was it easy? Like, if you want something hard, go play Valorant. Go play CSGO. Like, what? What is this? Easy versus fun. Yes, exactly. ICC was cool. Yeah, exactly. Holy fuck, man.
Right away, if we just try, like, obviously after a couple weeks, we'll generally kill it. But a lot of the times,
also, like, why is heroic easy for them? Number one, because Bellier's been playing the game for 15 years. I'm sorry, but like even with Elden Ring, I'm gonna be honest, guys, outside of like maybe 3 bosses, didn't challenge me at all. I thought it was fucking easy. Roll the tape? No, I mean, it was the bird boss was hard, Melania was hard, and I think I had trouble with one other boss. And other than that, I think I went through it pretty easy. Yeah, I like Moog. Yeah, Moog. I had trouble with Moog. That was the other one I was pissed off about. Yeah. Other than that, I feel like it was pretty easy. It wasn't really that hard at all. But like again, the game isn't made for somebody. Elden Ring is beautiful, respectful difficulty, exactly. And that's the genius of From Software. Is the fact that they knew that they have a massive community of people who would be totally fine with every boss being as difficult as Moog. But they didn't make the game that way because they're not trying to just make the game for people that have played all of their other games. They're making the game to be good at a baseline. And that's one thing that WoW doesn't have. And so, like, yeah, of course it's easier for Belluer to clear Heroic. He's been playing the game for 15 years, and he has all these add-ons, too. Take away all those add-ons, take away that experience, what's that going to be like for an average person?
Just before or just after they go, and it's arbitrary time period, we'll just chop it in half to make it easier, and you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
There it is. Elden Ring has built-in difficulty sliders. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things. What I'm saying is, like, I'm very glad that Belluer and them are finally coming around to seeing how parasitic the esports fixation that WoW has been on the game. I think it has been massively parasitic, and it has only made the game worse. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse. The last thing they said and was hardcore was too easy. Harder mode, raid shouldn't exist. To cater to people who just want to loot pinata, though? Well, I'm not sure, right? Are you saying that you don't like competition? No. I really actually don't really give a fuck about competition in an MMO. Like, not in the way that Race the World First is a competition. Yeah, I actually don't really care a lot about it. I think that players will create their own competition, and you don't need to have the developers that do that for them. Like, it's not that kind of a game. Like, MMOs, like, again, whenever you talk about MMOs, do you even care at all? Well, of course, I care, right? I mean, of course I care. That's why I'm making video talking about it, etc., right? Bro, you don't get competition? Easy for you to say. You don't get you get handed everything? Well, yeah, of course, because I'm a streamer. But, like, I played the game for a long time, and I play plenty of other single-player games, and I beat those games, too. That's no big deal. Being handed everything, of course why would I want to spend more time playing a game, farming out items that I don't really care about? Yeah, I'm a streamer. Like, I played the game longer than I've streamed. I know the way the game works, like, as a streamer and as not a streamer. Like, that's absolutely how it is. Like, you're not going to try to, like, figure this out. Like, what do you mean? Like, I've played it since 2006. Was I streaming in 2006? No. Like, it's just such a ridiculous thing. People keep talking like Mythic's the only mode. Well, the reason why is because Mythic drops the best gear. It's just also, like, it's just not a relaxed and fun game to play anymore. I think that, again, every end-game activity in WoW right now isn't fun. Mythic Plus isn't fun. Raiding isn't fun. All of it. None of it's fun. Those handouts made you soft? That's why you're bad at PoE? Wait, I'm bad at PoE? What? Made me soft? Why would I want to be hard in a video game? It's just a game. Who cares? How old are you? Like, what? It's just a game. Like, who cares? Like, what's wrong with you? Yeah, you want to be hard? Yeah, what is this? Like, guys, And I think this is what happens a lot with like I think this has been a lot of one game Andes things. Is that a lot of one game Andes get hyper fixated on being good at their game. They're like very, very focused on like, I want to be good at my game. And they view being good at their game as a genuine accomplishment. I'm going to be honest, guys. Nobody gives a fuck if you're good at WoW. Nobody cares. It will never matter. And it will never amount to anything. It's the same as League of Legends or Valorant or any of these other games. However good you think you are at the game, you're not good enough to play at a competitive level, probably. And if you are, then go do that. Then it does matter. But otherwise, it really doesn't. It really doesn't make a big difference. Like, nobody's ever going to care. It's never going to mean anything. There's never going to be like a light at the end of the tunnel where, oh, well, all of my hard work paid off. It's never going to pay off. It's never going to matter. At least I'm good at something. Well, being good at something that doesn't matter isn't really that much better than being good at nothing, is there? You're saying this from experience? Yeah, of course. Like, I would say that all of the time that I've spent trying to be good at games hasn't really given me any sort of real reward, like, ever. Like, being good at streaming is a lot different than being good at games. And I think that my stream only started to really do well whenever I stopped focusing on being good at the game. I remember whenever I made that choice and I thought to myself, like, I'm not going to play the game seriously anymore. Because the truth is, like, I was a pretty good player. Yeah, I was good at the game. And maybe if I had played more and taken it more seriously, I could have gotten even better. But the reality is, like, I'm not like a super, super top end player, right? I would say, like, I was a solid, like, 8.5, 9 out of 10, you know, in general, right? In terms of, like, my ability. But there's a lot of people out there that are a 10 out of 10. Because they play and they take it way more seriously than I do. They get way more into it than I do. And those people are going to beat me every time. Trying to be good at the game instead of enjoying the game is stupid. Yeah, it is. The video where you climbed a mountain and broke the pre-patch stuff and the GM killed you is what introduced me to you. Fire content. Exactly. And that's actual good content. And I can see a lot of people nowadays tell that to esports pros. Well, you're not an esports pro, are you? You're just sitting here talking shit. So you can tell me whenever you are an esports pro, and then I'll take it seriously. So a lot of one game Andes view like their ability in the game as like some sort of like important thing. But I will promise you that nobody will ever care about it. It will never matter. Yeah, imagine talking about WoW and bring up esports. Yeah, competitive WoW. Nobody gives a shit about this. Here's the competitive WoW subreddit. It has 100 people online. Nobody cares. That's just the way it is.